guest this week is Wang Xiaoshen, president of Ganfeng Lithium. Ganfeng is China's largest lithium producer and a company that has expanded rapidly over the past decade. It started off as a small lithium converter in China's Jiangxi province, but it is now a key supplier to the global electric vehicle industry, supplying automakers such as Tesla, Hyundai and BMW. Xiaoshen, thank you so much for joining me today and good to see you again.
Yeah, very good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Just as a first question, at the moment we see lithium prices at their lowest level since around the middle of 2021. We see a lot of concern about electric vehicle sales growth slowing, but Ganfeng still continues to invest in new sources of production, new sources of future supply. What makes you confident about the demand outlook, and is the situation we're in now just a sort of temporary blip, do you think?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, the whole electrification, I think it's just in the beginning stage. EV is just maybe one of the first, but if you also you should look at other applications like even energy storage and also the boat and also many other applications. So I think this is just the beginning. If you believe that the trends will go to the electrification, I think we still need more lithium to be supplied.
And in terms of your recent announcements, you've increased your offtake from Australia's Pilbara Minerals. You've signed an offtake with Hyundai. Is this all a sign that the demand is coming and it's going to only improve?
Yeah, I think if you look at the growth rate, it's still growing. It's still growing. Just the growth rate may be lower than 2 years ago. You cannot expect every year you have 100% growth rate. That doesn't sustainable. But I think if you look at 20-30% growth rate, that's still quite high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in terms of energy storage, which you mentioned, that market is taking off. And I think a benchmark we forecast in China, energy storage will increase maybe by 50% this year. Do you see similar growth outlook?
Yeah, I think 50% probably is a good number to see this year. And because of the lithium is cheaper, and also many other raw materials price also dropped, so that makes the battery cost more attractive for investor to make the energy storage.
Interesting. And Ganfeng has a target, I think if I'm right, of 600,000 tons LCE capacity by 2030, which would be enough for over 18 million EVs, which is potentially more than will be sold in the whole world this year. Are you on track for that target?
Yeah, we still keep that target, and we are very closer and closer to that. But still, we have a gap between today's capacity with the 2030's target. So that's why we still invest in the more resource, more capacity.
And whereabouts are you looking? You obviously have invested a lot in Argentina, in Africa, and Mali. Where are you looking to meet that growth?
Yeah, Argentina will be very important, one of the important as a country for the future supplies of the lithium, because they have the resource potentials, but also have some challenges. But that's why we are continues to invest, and we think Argentina will be becoming one of the most important source for the lithium supply in the future.
And is there new ways of extracting lithium in Argentina, such as direct lithium extraction? Do you see that as having potential for improving the amount of lithium that can be extracted?
Yeah, I think DLE does provide alternative solutions for some of the brine resource might be challenging to use the conventional process, but also DLE itself, it also has some limits. So some DLE process currently consuming quite a big amount of fresh water. So we are working on a different process, which is largely reduce the consumption of the fresh water, which is very critical in that dry area.
So could we see DLE on the next projects coming?
Yeah, we are preparing for using the DLE for the next project in Argentina.
And that will help reduce the water usage, right?
Yeah, this DLE process, is compared with the other DLE process, will have a very small amount of fresh water.
Got it. And in Africa, obviously there's more lithium supply coming out of Africa. You recently bought out the joint venture partner in Mali, increasing your stake in the project. Why do you see the Mali project as attractive?
I think, first of all, we are trying to diversify our global sources for the lithium. So Africa will be very important for Ganfeng in the coming years. So, and the Mali project is it has the scale, it can be scaled up, and also is the country is also very important for the country of Mali as well.
And you also recently signed an agreement with the government, right, in Mali for this project. So when do you see this project coming into production?
Yeah, we're still targeting commissioning in July this year. It's actually just a couple of months from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and are you looking elsewhere in Africa for supply at all?
Yeah, we do look at some other countries as well in Africa. Some maybe still early stage, but we are doing the exploration programs as well.
And in terms of other future supply, when you look at the current situation, the geopolitics, is it becoming more difficult for Chinese companies to find new sources of supply?
Yeah, in some countries might be challenging for Chinese companies, so that's why we are more diversified our lithium source base.
And will you also work more with foreign companies? For instance, Pilbara Minerals, you've announced an agreement to look at building a lithium processing plant somewhere in the world. Where do you think that plant will be?
That Ganfeng's history, we have been have the partner since very beginning. We have a partner in Australia, we have a partner in Argentina. We also used to have a partner in Africa as well. We still have a partner there. So Pilbara is one of our important suppliers. So they also want to build overseas downstream chemical plant. So we agreed to jointly study to see where is the proper place to put this capacity. But we are jointly going to go through this feasibility study process. So we don't know yet which country should be the right one.
But that could help you supply Western markets, right?
Yeah, definitely Ganfeng is supply to the global market. So we want to continue with that.
And in terms of in China, just returning to the lithium market, we see a lot of concerns about overcapacity. At least in the West, we see concerns about Chinese overcapacity, too much supply of batteries, too much supply of electric vehicles. How worried are you about that overcapacity in the Chinese market?
I think it's natural because everyone sees the future's demands, everyone wants to jump in, but that doesn't mean everyone will be successful. So there will be competition. So over years, I think in the end, we will be who survive this competition will becoming more stronger.
And is that good for the lithium market then?
Yeah, it will be good for the lithium market as well. I think every market you will see, if everybody see there's big future, so there will be newcomers joining the competition. So in the end, you never know who is going to survive.
Yeah. And in terms of inventories, I guess last year and a bit of this year, there's concern about inventories in the supply chain, with a lot of people saying there are inventories of battery cells. Do you still see that situation, or has it got better?
I think it's complicated. Maybe varies from different companies, may have different inventory storage. And so from our point of view, we have very healthy inventory level. So I don't know if the particular company has more or less. Yeah. But if you look at the whole industry, I think it should be okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, as in we could see once demand grows again, we could see a price uptick.
Yeah, that's why you see the price from the Q2 or end of March starting to be recovered a little bit, but maybe will not be back to the 2022, but I think will be more keep the more healthy level.
What do you think is a healthy, reasonable range for prices then?
I think if the price is too high, like 2022, then you will see there will be some challenges for some application, including energy storage, will becoming maybe too expensive, or the investment return will be too long. But when the lithium price drop, along with other raw materials price drop, so we see the batteries becoming very competitive, energy storage becoming more and more attractive.
And when you look at deals with electric vehicle producers, OEMs like Hyundai, are they willing to structure lithium contracts in ways that help you, such as having a price floor, and they can get a price ceiling? Is that what's happening?
Actually, we don't believe the floor or ceiling is a good idea. We just to follow the market. I think that's probably the right way to do. Because you never know. It could be even lower than the floor or even higher than the ceiling. So the best way is to follow the market.
And is it a good thing that spodumene prices are getting more and more market-based?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. And in terms of the domestic market, we've seen the lithium futures being launched in China. I wonder how you think that's helped. Has it helped the market in terms of volatility of prices or in terms of price discovery?
Yeah, I think people still study to work with the futures. This is the new tools for both customers and the suppliers. I think that's good tools. And people, we also needs to learn more about that, how to use it, better use to stabilize your productions and the supply.
Got it. And in terms of just moving on to sustainability and improving the sustainability of lithium, can you talk a bit about what Ganfeng is doing within China in terms of improving, the carbon footprint of lithium production?
Yeah, actually, Ganfeng is, the global company. We look at not only in China but outside China as well. In China, we have built all our roofs for the chemical plant. All the roofs covered by the solar power panels, and we are building the solar power plant in Argentina. It's 128 megawatt, probably the biggest one in the lithium company, and together with the energy storage. So to reduce the CO2 emissions and footprint, that's our target. And also we want to, through reducing the CO2 emissions, and also bring the economic benefits. So it's not only adding the cost, but also you can probably reduce the cost. At the same time, you reduce the CO2 emissions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And are you also presumably looking at some of the European regulations as well coming in terms of battery passport, battery regulations, which will require carbon footprint disclosure?
Yeah, I think this is the trend. Now, I think Europe is doing that, and China also will doing that, and I think in the future probably the US also. So this is the trend.
Got it.
Yeah.
And just returning to geopolitics, how worried are you about, the US has just announced tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, the European Union's considering tariffs. How worried are you this will impact demand or lithium demand?
Yeah, this definitely will have some negative impact on the demand of the lithium in the short term, but I think the long term should be fine. We also hope that the US OEMs can develop the EV markets, but with Chinese competition probably will accelerate the process of adopting the electrified vehicles in the US.
So it could slow down the...
Could be slowing down, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But if you look at it, US is not only one market. You have many other markets globally. So like Southeast Asia and some other area, we have a big potential for the demand as well.
Interesting. So are you starting to see lithium demand from these other regions?
Yeah.
So Southeast Asia, South America,
South Asia. Even in the future will be Africa. I think there's also will be potential demands for that. Yeah. Because for instance, we are now considering to build up the fleet to transport our spodumene from Mali to the port. So we are trying to do with electrical trucks. So that will bring the demands for the batteries and the lithium in the end.
Interesting. So even with the electric grid in Mali, the problems we've seen.
Yeah.
You think
Yeah. And also in the future, we also want to build more renewable energy power stations in Mali to supply our demands for electricity.
Interesting. Because Ganfeng is obviously also a battery producer.
Yeah.
And I think the battery revenues made up, I think, around 15% last year.
Yeah, it's close to 20% right now.
Yeah, so getting more and more. So can you talk a bit about, what kind of markets you're supplying with your battery production?
Yeah, actually, Ganfeng's battery, we started from 2015, and we supply actually most of the applications, including consumer batteries, and also energy storage, and also the heavy trucks. We also started to supply of the passenger cars since a couple of years ago. Yeah.
And in terms of solid-state batteries, obviously you're a pioneer in solid-state batteries, and you've recently announced a deal with Chang'an Auto to increase research and development of solid-state batteries. As far as I know, you produce a semi-solid-state battery that's gone into a vehicle.
Yeah.
How do you see the progress and the commercialization developing from here?
Yeah, I think semi-solid state we already have the commercial productions for that. The fully solid state, which is we mean the lithium metal-based anode batteries for passenger cars, probably take a longer time than we expected earlier. There are a couple of reasons. One is the LFP batteries has improved a lot. So for the consumer passenger cars, it will have a range of like 600, 700 kilometers per charge. I think that's long enough for normal consumers. So if you're charging more for this longer range, probably 100, 200 kilometers more, probably doesn't so attractive for the consumers. So we think maybe the high energy solid state batteries like a metal-based anode, probably we will start commercialize with the aircrafts, electrical aircrafts, which has much higher demand for the energy density.
I see, because consumers of EVs won't pay more for the mileage and energy.
Yeah, consumers' car is the most challenging market.
Yeah.
You need everything. And also cost.
Yeah, that's true. And you have, what do you think of LMFP batteries in terms of an improvement on LFP?
LFP also, every year you still see some improvements, even it's not that much, but there's an improvement last couple of years. And now with the next year, probably the fast charging, let's see, 4C, 5C rate charging will becoming commercialized. So that will be also help for the EV companies. They may not necessary to build a huge, big battery pack, because if you can charge very fast, why don't you just bring a huge battery pack?
Mm-hmm. So how do you see the split between lithium carbonate and hydroxide? It sounds from what you're saying that LFP is going to be the majority of the market.
Yeah, we see in the passenger cars that will be the major, and also energy storage is also LFP is the major source. But in the end, LFP can be produced either from carbonate or hydroxide. So it's dependent on the price of the lithium unit.
Yeah. And at the moment, hydroxide is cheaper, right?
Yeah, if hydroxide is cheaper, then why not?
Yeah. Interesting. And just talking about recycling, I think you've talked about a target of 30% of supply in the future coming from recycled.
Yeah, I think that we still have to reach that the percentage level still takes a long way to go, because the market, the battery market is still growing. So you still need lots of lithium from the original sources.
And current prices, does it make sense to recycle LFP?
We still make sense for us, because Ganfeng has integrated system, so it makes us more competitive. And also we recycle almost everything, almost all the valuable elements, so that the whole system makes the recycling for LFP batteries still make sense.
Including graphite, do you?
Yeah. Including the copper, the aluminum, all those valuable items in the battery.
Interesting. Yeah. I just wanted to ask also about the US Inflation Reduction Act in terms of how do you supply, can Chinese companies still supply the US market given the sort of requirements in the Inflation Reduction Act?
Yeah, that makes things more complicated. Yeah. So actually we don't know yet. And as a company, we hope to supply all of our customers globally. So we also trying to think or trying to explore the possibilities how to supply to our customers globally, including everywhere.
And do you think Argentina will perhaps become eligible for the IRA as well?
We don't know yet, but I think this in the future there is a possibility. But I think in the end, most important thing for us, we think, is the cost competitiveness. Yeah, that's the key, because to make a long-term investment, you cannot rely on the subsidies or short-term policies.
Got it. So you think even if you're not eligible, you can still be cost competitive?
Yeah, I think that's the core.
Yeah. And in terms of just the general market, we have seen a lot more supply obviously come to the market. Do you still think that we could see a deficit later this decade?
You mean the supply and the demand?
Yeah.
I cannot rule out that possibility, because if the price coming down or kept at a low level for quite a longer period of time, there might be lack of investment. So not sufficient investment into this area. So the things might be happening again.
Yeah. And what do you think of domestic Chinese lithium resources? Or lepidolite resources, can they keep going at these prices?
I think depending on the deposit itself, I think some deposit might be still workable or have the marginal profit.
And I guess some are integrated as well into battery producers or other companies like that.
Yeah, that's part of the reason, but also in the end, even the battery company, they have to compete. So they have to use the lowest available material in the market. So it doesn't have to be produced themselves if this cost is higher than the market.
Got it. No, that makes sense. It would just be great to hear about your experience in Argentina, because Cauchari is your first sort of overseas project built by Ganfeng, right? And built by
Halfway.
Yeah,
I would say
halfway,
we joined in the later stage, not from the very beginning.
Yeah. But you had teams going over there.
Yeah, we have teams there.
So what did you learn in terms of operating in a completely different country?
Yeah, we got lots of lessons and experience during the last several years. Is to build a chemical plant outside China is totally different. So you have the language barrier, and also you don't have sufficient local teams, and also the raw materials reagent cost is quite different. Some are very high compared with China. So all those things quite different. You have to accept the reality and trying to find what's the best way for Argentina. You cannot just copy what we're doing. For instance, like Cauchari, we have been start production since last year. To some investors, probably think, oh, it's already very fast. But in the Ganfeng's speed, we think, oh, why this took so long?
Interesting.
Yes.
So what is the rough cost difference between lithium processing in China and outside?
It's difficult to compare simply because each project has different situations. So, but largely, Argentina investment, the capex will be higher. Yeah, because it takes longer time. All the logistics challenges, raw material supply challenges, and also, of course, the foreign currency control in the last several years also makes things more difficult.
And you said earlier you're also looking at Argentina for further expansions. Do you think things will speed up now you've got that experience?
Yeah, we make investment based on a long-term strategy. So we think Argentina has good resource, and also with the new government, they have some new ideas. We hope that could be successful, and if we believe that their target is right. They want to remove all the restrictions, so which is good for the investment.
So things should get easier then.
Yeah, we hope that will get easier if they can make it. Yeah, but it's not you cannot make it overnight. The challenges Argentina facing is accumulated many years. Yeah. So it's difficult to change it overnight.
Yeah. And how far do you think these countries should go into the midstream in terms of attracting cathode investment? We've seen that in Argentina. We've seen it in Chile. Do you think that's something that's possible?
I think every country should consider what's their strengths. So the investment should be based on the strengths. Of course, in the future, we think Argentina also has good potential for electrifications. At that time, if you create a market, that's first, and then you can create the suppliers. The supply will come.
Yes, yes, yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So in Australia, we've seen a lot of interest in new lithium projects, some acquisitions happening. You know, how interested are you in terms of acquiring more supply in Australia? Obviously, you already have access to Mount Marion, but are you interested to expand your presence?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we like to diversify our resource base. So, of course, Australia is still very important lithium supply for Ganfeng, but also we are now looking for more areas. Yeah.
So more mines in Australia?
Yeah, no, not only Australia, but I mean in other continents as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you obviously have a project in Ireland. Are you looking at anything else in Europe at all?
Yeah, Ireland is one project we have been started some years ago, but it's slower than we expected. We're still doing the exploration works there, and we hope in the future, we think, also we believe in Europe that in the future we'll have a local supply of the lithium. Yeah.
So you think every region will have local supply?
Yeah, it will have a local supply.
In terms of solid state, you know, what are the benefits of using the traditional silicon graphite anodes, and can you still get the improvement in performance?
The silicon graphite is also not easy. It's because it's expandable of the silicons in the anode. So we still believe the lithium metal-based anode has much higher energy density than the silicon-based. But in the short term, probably there will be also some market can use that technology.
Got it. Yeah. And how do you forecast or plan for your lithium metal production? Because it's slightly chicken and egg, right? You need the demand, but then the demand needs the production.
Yeah, we plan our production based on the market demands. Yeah, we build the capacity step by step. We don't build the capacity, wait for the market to be ready. Mm-hmm.
But you don't think the market could be limited by a shortage of lithium metal?
We think in the end is demand the supply balance, and also we are prepared. We are prepared for just in case the market is rising, and we have time to cope with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just in general about battery chemistry, what do you see from automakers in terms of the roadmaps they have for battery chemistry? You've mentioned LFP increasing market share, but what do you see in terms of how they're thinking about batteries?
I think it's a very diversified technical roles. You have the LFP now becoming probably more than 60%, but you still have the NCM. NCMs still have some performance which is better than LFP batteries, high energy density. In some scenarios, probably they has to use the NCM instead of LFP. But there are also several other materials, cathode materials are being developing. So in the future, there may be more diversified cathode space.
To meet different performance.
To meet different performance.
Got it.
Yeah. Even the LFP itself, for energy storage, might require different performance than you use as a passenger car.
Mm-hmm. And how big do you think the energy storage market can get?
I think that's the potential is huge. So, but it also depends on the lithium price. If the lithium price is too high, then probably the demand will be shrink. So that's why it's important for the lithium company to produce more lithium.
Yeah. Because we've seen a huge amount of renewable investment in China, in solar, in wind, installing more solar than the rest of the world combined. So all of that needs some sort of energy storage, right? Yeah.
That's right. I think the energy storage will be the big potential market, but it might not be growth like a very straight line. So also depend on the lithium price.
Yeah.
If you look at last cycle, it's very interesting.
Yeah, interesting. And just going back to African lithium supply, do you think Africa will be the next big, I guess, spodumene producer, exporter of lithium?
Yeah, I believe, but might takes a little bit longer than people thought. Every project, if you look at each project, it's not that simple, not that easy. Also, each project will facing some different, maybe different challenges. So it might take longer time. But I believe that it will become a very important source for lithium.
And would you consider building processing in Africa as well?
We're not ruling out of that in the future, also depending on the local infrastructures and also other logistic, everything to consider.
Got it. But I think that the governments there want more value add, right?
Yeah, each country wants to have a more value added in the country, but also in the end, you have to look at the reality and try to find what's the best way to do.
And that's the big question, right? How to compete with China on costs, right? And keep the cost low. I mean, do you think it's even possible to compete with China?
It's a very good question. So I don't know how to compete with China, but I think the reason why China is becoming low cost is China has the human resources, engineers resources, and also has the market, the big markets, makes everything becoming more efficient. So that's why. So I think that if you want to compete with China and other countries, you need to build up the market first. That the market compete, then gradually the local supplier will be arising. Yeah.
So this is things like reagents, dealing with waste, and
there's many aspects you need to consider.
In terms of the strategy that we see in the West, in terms of tariffs, subsidies, do you think this will just delay the energy transition, or do you think, okay, fair enough, China's done this kind of support, Western countries can also do this?
I can fully understand that concern of the different countries, and they think, they want to protect their local industry. But just an example, several years ago, China allowed Tesla to build their Henry-owned company, a car company in China. So that's a very good example, I think, and maybe some other country can learn from that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before that, China EV market also heavily rely on the government subsidies. Without subsidies, the market will be shrinked. But after Tesla started to produce EV cars in China, and totally changed the scenario.
Mm-hmm. I think Ganfeng said in its annual report that China's moved from a policy-driven market to a product-driven market. Can you explain a bit?
Yeah, I think Tesla is because in the past, it's in the beginning, like when the government gave the subsidies, there are also probably some scandals, like some battery companies or bus companies just want to get the subsidy, not necessarily to build a good product. But after Tesla started to manufacture in China, makes the cost lower, and the consumers starting to like the electrical cars, not only because they buy the EV not because of subsidies, because they like this car. Mm-hmm. So that's created demands. And so we have seen 2020, 2021, the markets shift from subsidy-based market to product-based.
Interesting. So when you see the Chinese EV market today, you've got so many different models, new models coming out the whole time. So you think it's a very much consumer-driven?
Yeah, it's very, very much consumer-driven. Yeah.
And I think last time we spoke, you said that the Chinese EV market reached a point where the charging was starting to be a bottleneck. Is this something that's been solved?
I think charging in some areas still is the bottleneck. In some countries, outside China, if you look at the US and maybe Europe, not enough charging infrastructures. But China, in the last couple of years, has built up the more infrastructures. But now we need to have upgrade to the fast charging or super fast charging. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that will be the next couple of years.
And that requires new battery technology, fast charging.
Yeah, of course. You have to modify your battery design to cope with the fast charging, and also the charging facility will be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. And in terms of policy, the Chinese government recently released policy about controlling overcapacity or battery overcapacity. Do you think this will help ease some of the overcapacity we've seen in the market?
I think that's helpful to convince the people not to just copy the low technology products and try to improve your products. I think this is good for the market as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And in terms of the battery producers in China, big battery producers, they've become more integrated in terms of looking at lithium. Do you see the whole market as becoming more and more vertically integrated?
I think some company doing that maybe because of the panic during 2022 when the price peaked.
Yeah.
Many companies will panic. But if the lithium industry can supply more sufficient lithium, I don't think that OEMs should be worried about that. But some OEMs, it might be to have some minority investment into the upstream resources to just make sure the long term. I think that's also a good strategy.
Like we've seen General Motors invest in Thacker Pass, right?
Yeah.
So what are the challenges facing the lithium industry?
Yeah, I think if you look at what's the challenges facing the lithium industry, I think there are several things. One is the bottlenecks with human resources, because lithium industry used to be very niche, small industry, so we don't have enough human resources to support all today's growth rate. So still the industry needs to come up and try to attract more talents into the industries. The second one would be I think the environmental restrictions. Every project when the capacity you want to build is not only based on your resource size, it's more based on your capacity for the environmental or your tailings, or the waste, how to handle your waste. I think this is also the whole industry needs to study and try to find a better way to handle with the waste.
Interesting. Yeah. So in terms of handling the waste, is that something that policy needs to help with?
Yeah, I think in some extent this do help. If for instance, the residues come from even the spodumene productions used to supply to the cement industries. But last year, China, the cement industry, they have issued new standards for raw materials. What kind of raw materials can be used, what percentage of the limits. So that has some impact on the capacity absorbed or the residues generated by the spodumene production.
Interesting. So there's nowhere to sell that waste anymore?
We have limits. You have the limits. So
does that mean the waste has to be put into tailings, into piles?
Yeah, and also you probably need further purifications for the waste, because we may have some hazardous elements exist in the waste, so you have to remove that before you put the waste into the tailings.
So could that all add to the cost of production then? Yeah,
definitely will have some impacts. Yeah, but the cost is one side of it, but how big you could allocate your residues or waste is maybe even bigger issues than the cost.
Interesting. In terms of where you put it.
Yeah, where you put and how to make it used as a byproduct instead of just to put it into the tailings.
Interesting. And what other industries could take it as a byproduct?
Yeah, in the past, as for instance, the residues from spodumene productions, goes to the cement industries.
Yeah.
And some waste might able to goes to the ceramic industries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And just in general, in terms of environmental regulations in China, we have seen them get stricter and stricter. Is that continuing?
Yeah, we see that environmental requirements become more and more strict.
Got it.
In China. Yeah.
Got it. Xiaoshen, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been fascinating to hear your thoughts.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Yeah.
Thank you.